On television first, the headlines. The Egyptian capital, Cairo, prepares to welcome His Majesty the Sultan on official and public levels, as well as through the Egyptian media means. The conference of the Middle East Federation of Medical Physics Organizations reviews the latest international technologies and protocols in the field of medical physics. The Sultanate of Oman expresses its condemnation for irregular armed forces storming the premises of State of Qatar Embassy in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. And the leaders of the G7 countries affirmed their keenness to build constructive and stable relations with China despite their opposition on its commercial policy. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The upcoming visit by His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to the Arab Republic of Egypt comes stressing on the keenness of both countries to enhance partnership in various fields. The Egyptian capital, Cairo, started the preparations to welcome His Majesty the Sultan on official and public levels, as well as through the Egyptian media means. The Sultanate of Oman and the Arab Republic of Egypt have deep-rooted historic relations as the leadership in the two countries aim to further strengthen these solid relations, and in response to the kind invitation addressed to His Majesty the Sultan from His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Republic of Egypt, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq will pay an official two-day visit to the Arab Republic of Egypt starting tomorrow, Sunday, the 21st of May. During the visit, the two sides will review all aspects of cooperation that could strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries in order to reach desired goals that serve mutual interests. The two leaderships will also discuss ways of enhancing joint Arab works as the diplomatic relations between the Sultanate of Oman and the Arab Republic of Egypt last November celebrated their 50th anniversary. The visit of His Majesty will also focus on the latest regional and international developments. The Egyptian media means highlighted that the mutual visits by the leaders of both countries will play a great role in enhancing partnership and cooperation in a number of development fields, especially the economic aspect, as the commercial exchange between both countries witnessed an increase back in 2022. The visit will witness an official session of talks between both sides, meetings between the Omani and Egyptian officials, signing of agreements and memorandum of understandings, as well as field visits. The Sultanate of Oman hosted the conference of the Middle East Federation of Medical Physics Organizations with the participation of 40 international speakers in the field of radiotherapy, nuclear medicine, and diagnostic radiology. The conference included working papers focusing on discussing the latest international technologies and protocols in the field of medical physics. The conference also shed light on enhancing the services provided to the patients in the related fields. The Sultanate of Oman expressed its condemnation for irregular armed forces storming the premises of the State of Qatar Embassy in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. It came in a statement issued by the Foreign Ministry, which stressed on the Sultanate of Oman's firm stance towards any actions that target the diplomatic mission and the necessity to protect the diplomatic buildings according to norms and laws that control and organize diplomatic work. Israeli Navy boats attacked Palestinian fishermen's boats at sea in Gaza City, Khan Yunis, and Rafah. The Palestinian News and Information Agency said that the occupation Navy fired bullets and open water cannons at the fishermen's boats, which are about 3 miles from the sea in El Sudaniya area, northwest of Gaza City, and forced them to leave and place and return to the beach, without any injuries reported. The agency stated that the occupation Navy deliberately targets fishermen in the Gaza Sea on a daily basis to prevent them from practicing the fishing profession within the framework of the systematic blockade imposed on the Gaza Strip. The United Nations has approved $22 million in funding to help refugees from Sudan to neighboring countries. The United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs stated that the organization was approved to help about 250,000 people registered by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees seeking safety in the Central African Republic, Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan. The International Organization for Migration pointed out that the armed conflict led to the displacement of more than 843,000 people from Sudan. In the Japanese city of Hiroshima, the leaders of the G7 countries affirmed their keenness to build constructive and stable relations with China despite their opposition to what they described as militarization activities practiced by Beijing in the Asia-Pacific region. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that Western countries are a better alternative than China and Russia to countries in the global south when it comes to partnership and financing. She explained that the Group of Seven is now facing an opportunity to advance mutually beneficial partnerships for emerging countries that want to work with them. Von der Leyen criticized the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, pointing out that it has plunged many countries into the clutches of borrowing from China due to the massive projects required to implement infrastructure to link China and Africa and Eurasia. Also within the framework of the G7 summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that peace will be closer because of the G7 summit meetings. Zelensky confirmed on Twitter that he would seek greater and more intensive cooperation in order to achieve victory for Ukraine. Zelensky will discuss with U.S. President Joe Biden with delivery of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine as part of a coalition of several partners. The World Health Organization has warned of the risk of more than 9 million climate-related deaths annually by the end of the century. The organization said in the World Health Statistics report that all aspects of health are affected by climate change, from clean air, water, and soil to food devices and ways of life, adding that further delay in addressing climate change will increase health risks and undermine decades of improvement in global health. The organization notes that although African countries, the poorest nations, and small island developing states have historically contributed the least to global emissions, they face the largest volume of health repercussions resulting from climate change. The Civil Aviation Authority issued an alert of heavy rains expected today in the governorates of El-Bremi, Al-Zahira, North and South Al-Batina, Al-Dakhiliya, Muscat, North and South Al-Sharqiya, and Dhafar. The alert indicated that the amount of rains expected to fall ranges between 20 and 45 millimeters, with the possibility of a decrease in the level of horizontal visibility due to rising dust and precipitation. The Civil Aviation Authority calls on citizens and residents to take precautions and caution during thunderstorms, not to cross wadis, to avoid low places, and not to go to the sea during the warning period. A number of wilayas of the governorate of North Sharqiya witnessed moderate to heavy rains, which led to some wadis and their tributaries to overflow. In the wilaya of Ibra, heavy rains were witnessed in a number of villages. The wilaya of Al-Qabil and Wadi Bani Khalid also witnessed varied intensity rains. Meanwhile, heavy rains fell in the wilaya of Dama Ta'in, which led some wadis and their tributaries to overflow. Here are some footage of the rains in the wilaya of Al-Qabil. While celebrating its 10th anniversary, Jusur Foundation signed 5 for strategic projects in North Al Batina Governorate. More details in the following report.
To implement 5 strategic projects in North Al Batina Governorate, Jusur Foundation signed 5 agreements. The projects, funded by the founding companies OQ, Suhar Aluminum and Valley, came with a social investment value of more than 3 million Omani Riyals.
A decade of impact. Today we celebrated at Jusur the remarkable of being 10 years as the corporate social responsibility arm of OQ, Valley and Suhar Aluminum. We always seek to put an impact, to have a sustainable investment. Across the last 10 years, we almost invested in 62 projects across North Al Batina with a total value of 14 million Omani Riyal.
The agreements signed included the establishment of a dialysis unit in Suhar Health Center, the construction of Suwaiq Park, the establishment of Liwa Fish, Vegetables and Fruits Market, the establishment of the investment building of Suwaiq Sports Club, and the implementation of Youth Competency Development Program.
Jusur and Sharaka MOU objective is to further foster the spirit of entrepreneurship in the Sultanate and increase the contribution of the SMEs in the strategic sectors and in the high impact sectors in the national economy. Sharaka and Jusur will be leveraging their resources and their experience and working together with their shareholders and their strategic partners to further increase the contribution of SMEs in strategic sectors such as sustainability, digital transformation, and sector with high in-country value.
The signing coincided with Jusur Foundation celebrating its 10th anniversary, where it successfully implemented around 63 projects covering all North Al Batina wilayas in various sectors, with a total social investment value of 14 million Omani Riyals. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Egyptian capital, Cairo, prepares to welcome His Majesty the Sultan on official and public levels, as well as through the Egyptian media means. The conference of the Middle East Federation of Medical Physics Organizations reviews the latest international technologies and protocols in the field of medical physics. The Sultanate of Oman expresses its condemnation for irregular armed forces storming the premises of State of Qatar Embassy in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. And the leaders of the G7 countries affirmed their keenness to build constructive and stable relations with China despite their opposition on its commercial policy. Thank you for watching. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night and have a great weekend.